Hey YouTube, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with the knife video. Today I have a very nice medium-sized, very well suited to EDC fixed blade for you. This is the RUIKE F815-B, and this is a knife that was sent to me by Rake Knives Canada. And it was sent because I asked them, could you send me some things to check out? I've had a lot of viewers, so you guys, asking me questions here and on Instagram, saying, what's the deal with these Rake knives? Are they good? Are they bad? What's the story? And I really didn't know much about them myself. I was able to, Google and find some of the same things you were, especially that they were selling them on Warriors and Wonders. Anyway, Matt over there followed up and did send me out a few knives, and they have been very, very well done. I mean, I haven't liked every single design aspect, but the quality is definitely right there with all of these. So at this point, I would say with a fair amount of confidence that you're not going to be disappointed with the level of quality or performance in these knives. You may, not all of them may fit your personal tastes or preferences, but they do all, or what they are all, is really, really well made. Okay, so let's go ahead and focus on this knife, and I'd like to do a little bit of an extra element to this video. We're going to, of course, do a full review here, but I'm actually going to also go through some of the things that make this such a great EDC fixed blade, and what you might want to look for, not only in this knife, which is going to be a real standard for me, but in any EDC fixed blade. Okay, so starting off with size and weight, this knife is 7.5 inches long, so not a huge knife. What is really impressive is the balance between blade and handle. So the blade here is 3 3/8, the handle is 4 1/8. And what's cool about it is it doesn't feel like I'm having to give up a lot, okay? Often when it comes to EDC fixed blades, I feel like they favor one side or the other. Either you get a little more blade and you get a short handle, maybe only a 3-finger handle, or you get a short knife and a short blade and a full handle. And it feels like there's always a trade-off, but this knife really balances those two things well. So one of the things to look for in a good EDC fixed blade is balance. A knife that doesn't overemphasize one point or the other, but really gives you a very usable blade with a handle that is comfortable and that can actually allow you to get some stuff done. The weight on this guy is, and by the way, when you put it in the sheath, the size goes up to 7 3/4 inches, so still not massive. And the weight in the sheath, because that's how pretty much anyone's going to carry it. Nobody walks around with a knife like this just in their pocket. The weight on this with the sheath is 6.5 ounces. Just the knife alone weighs 3.7, just in case you wanted to know that, but it really doesn't make a big difference. So you pretty much have to have a sheath with a fixed blade, right? That's kind of how it works. So let's carry on now and talk about this blade. As I said, it's a nice sized blade for an EDC fixed blade. There are a couple other things that are going on here that are pretty well done. So we've got a drop point blade here, medium flat grind, 14C28N steel with a stonewash finish. And there are a few things that I want to point out about this. Number one is the grind here is done in such a way that we get a pretty nice thin edge, so very slicey edge, suitable for food prep or skinning an animal or all kinds of different things. But because it's not a high flat grind, it's a medium flat grind, you get a lot of extra strength, a lot of extra material, sort of in this area of the knife, and especially coming out to the tip. So it makes this a very strong, durable knife, in addition to being a knife that'll cut really well. 14C28N, is one of my favorite budget steels. I definitely would call it a step up from the usual, AUS 8, 8CR13, 9CR13, whatever budget steels you're used to hearing about, 420HC. I would say this is a step up from all of those. The performance for me has just been really, really good, okay? So I would definitely say when it comes to budget steels, my favorite one is 14C28N, and it's nice to see that here. The performance on this, the edge retention, has been really, really good. The only complaint I really have about this blade is the top swedge. I kind of wish, and this is really more of an ergonomic point, but I wish it were just moved a little bit forward. It would almost end up looking like a harpoon style blade, but it would give me a little extra room for my thumb, and I may readdress that when we get to the handle and the ergonomics, which I guess we may as well go there right now since we're already talking about it. Handle on this guy is G10 over the skeletonized handle, both, and it's nice that they skeletonized the G10 as well to take away some of that weight. Keeps this nice knife fairly lightweight. By the way, these are removable. So if you wanted to, say, do a paracord wrap on this or something like that, that's totally within the realm of possibility. For me, I like it just the way it is. It's really, really comfortable. They've got a couple little things here that are worth noticing. Notice the little cutouts here so that when you do sort of a pinch grip for, fine detailed work. They've actually accommodated that, which is really nice to see. As I said, they do have a bit of a thumb ramp here. I just wish it were moved forward a little bit. I'd like to put my thumb right about here, but that's not super comfortable because of the swedge. Back here is still acceptable, okay? And this is almost something I'd consider modifying myself and just extending that, removing some of the material there. I don't know if I'm going to go to that bother or not, but it wouldn't be, I don't think, a bad idea. Certainly the handle is comfortable. Now, it is fairly thin, okay? So it's almost the size of a typical folding knife handle. So if you're kind of used to some of the things from Cold Steel, the American Lawman, or knives like that, the handle sort of puts me in mind of that. It's a little thin, but still definitely very, very workable. And again, as has been typically, I feel like I keep saying this, but again, strikes a really nice balance between comfort and size and weight. Really, really done nicely. And so again, that'd be something that I would maybe look for. I will say this, I've had a lot of sort of skeletonized knives that need a paracord wrap or something, and I do prefer a knife that has a handle. So we're talking about things to look for in an EDC fixed blade. Some handle scales are generally going to make that comfort in use much, much higher. Now, let me move on to one of the, I think everything has been pretty good here, but another good feature, perhaps the best feature, is the sheath, and especially the clip. Now, the sheath is just a plastic sort of sandwich style sheath. It does retain the blade well. There are a couple little features worth pointing out. One, it's got a couple of tubed holes here so that if you wanted to, you could put a paracord in this and use it as a neck knife. Of course, you'd want to remove this to cut down on that weight a little bit. The other cool feature is this screw right here, which allows you to adjust the retention, adjust how firmly this remains in the sheath. As it is, I pretty much like this, but if it were just a little loose or even a little tight, you could make some minor adjustments on that screw and change it. Now, let's flip over to this side and check out this really, really nicely done clip. What's cool, by the way, there's a little tab right here by the end of my thumb. Flick that tab and you can turn this in any direction. So I've been carrying this sort of in a cross draw position, sort of kidney carry on my left side. You could, of course, that easily flip this to a handle up carry, vertical carry position. The only thing that would require you to actually take this off and move it would be, let's say I wanted to put this, on my lower back and have reach around my back and pull it out that way. That would require me to flip this over to this side of the sheath, okay? But anything else that I want to do with it, I can get it all done just by adjusting this, which I really, really like. Okay, so the next thing to look for in an EDC fixed blade is a sheath that retains well, which usually means plastic or Kydex, and which is versatile. You can carry it in all kinds of different configurations, and that is where this really, really shines. In fact, I would be tempted to just buy a bunch of these clips and use them for, all of my fixed blades. I think, for example, this charade would really, really benefit from a clip like this. It would just make it, this is the clip that it ships with, or I guess it's not really a clip, it's a rubberized loop. This would be a huge upgrade to this knife. Okay guys, now before we get into the comparisons and then the conclusion, let me quickly summarize those features that I think you should look for in a good EDC fixed blade. First off, it was the balance between the handle and the blade. I know I pointed the opposite way there. Anyway, so handle and blade, this knife does a really good job of balancing. There are a few others out there that do the same, so look for that. Look for handle scales. I definitely prefer that, and it's nice to see that even at a budget price point, they're not asking you to pay extra for handle scales, which seems to be a thing with EDC sized fixed blades and a rather annoying one. Look for a decent steel. This is a really budget steel, but this or D2, there are a few others out there that are going to do well for you. Look for a good blade grind. Sometimes companies overemphasize the desire for a tough blade. They go, well, if someone wants to EDC a fixed blade, they must be looking for something tough. And they allow that to influence them and make a blade that's too thick to cut well. Okay, so this again is a nice blade that really balances strength and cutting ability. And then the sheath. And the sheath may be the most important part, because those other features that I mentioned, you may have different preferences, but the sheath is a big deal. This one is very versatile. You can carry it in a bunch of different ways. It retains really well. And the biggest thing about it is a clip that allows you lots of different carry options. So those are sort of the things that I look for in a good EDC knife. Now, let's move on to a few comparisons that you might want to think about. First up would be the Schrade SCH F815. Again, this sheath is fairly well done. The blade stock here is pretty thick. That would be the biggest drawback. Otherwise, though, this knife is comfortable in hand, and of course, it's, I think, a little cheaper than this guy. So this is even more budget friendly, but it's a little bit too, well, it's actually a lot too thick. This is really a sharpened pry bar, and it's not going to serve well in EDC tasks. It's more hard use. It's you know, going to be hard to break this. So if you need something to really pound on, that's a good option. Want to bring this guy in. This is the Tops T-Bow, and this is one of the knives I had in mind when I was talking about being forced to pick. Here we have a nice, fairly hand-filling handle here, but a super, super short blade. You know, this handle on a blade that was this much longer would be a total win. And if I kind of show you, if I line these up choil to choil, you can see that the handle is almost the same, but the blade is much, much shorter. And I would really appreciate if this blade were a little longer. Otherwise, though, I really like this. It's fairly thinly ground, which makes it a really nice cutting knife. Also, the sheath on this, let me point out this as well. This is a taco style sheath, so it's not quite as versatile because you only get the holes on one side rather than on both. So that is a little bit limiting. We've got the Bradford Guardian. Now, I have a Kydex sheath coming for this. Again, this is a bit bigger, and of course there's also the Guardian 3, which is closer to this size, but the handle is not quite as comfortable, not quite as pleasant to use in hand. Still good, but not as great. Plus, the Guardian 3 comes stock with a leather sheath, and if you want the Kydex sheath, you have to pay extra, which is kind of annoying. I will pull in one other, let's just pull in one folder so that you can kind of get a sense for size. Okay, so this is what you're looking at in terms of overall size. Just because the Rat 2 is such a well-known, commonly carried knife, I wanted to bring this in so you have a sense for, you know, yeah, you're getting a little less cutting edge, but not a lot, and certainly much less handle, which is going to impact comfort just a tiny bit. So there you go, guys. Overall, I don't think it's any secret if you've watched this video. I'm a huge, huge fan of this knife. It is really, really well done. It's a great user knife. It's very tough. It's very carryable. They've really gotten a lot of things right with this knife. And I may actually pick up a couple other RUIKE fixed blades. There's another one that's just a teeny bit bigger, and see if that one is as comfortable and convenient as well. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll talk to you soon. Oh, and by the way, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. We'll see you later.